Yeah. We want to begin tonight's special event of solidarity. We want to open it with a prayer. King David, the most famous of the Jewish kings, whenever it came to life's challenges, whenever he needed a moment of inspiration, he composed a prayer. And we want to begin this evening with a prayer. I want to ask Rabbi Winner, my brother, Chabad of Manhattan Beach, to please come up and lead a prayer from Tehillim.
Please rise. As an introduction, in a few weeks in the Torah we're going to read about the story of Yaakov and Esav. Esav and Jacob, the sons of Yitzchak and Rivka. And at one point, Yitzchak, who could not see, wanted to bless Esav. Instead, he blessed Yaakov. But he said this line, the hands are the hands of Esav, but the voice is the voice of Yaakov, the voice of Jacob. And we learn from this an important lesson. There are times that we need to have the hands of Esav, but that's not our true identity. That's not our true power. Our true power is the voice of Yaakov. When we pray, when we do mitzvahs, that's the ultimate power that we have to bring more light, more hope, more meaning to life. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Roi Lo Yechzor, B'nois Deshe Yad B'tzeini, Al Mei Menuchos Yinaleini, Nafshi Yeshoi V'Yancheni B'Maglei Tzedek, L'Ma'an Shemoi, Gam Ki Eilech B'Geitz Al Moves, Lo Yirado Ki Yato Imodi, Shiftecho Mishantecho, Eima Yinachamuni, Ta'aroich Lefonai Shulchan Neged Soiriroi, Dishanto B'Hashem Roishi Koi Siri Boyo, Ach Toi B'Chesed Yirdefuni Kol Yemei Chayoi, V'shavti B'Beis Adonai Le'oirech Yomim. You may be seated.
Baruch Dayan Emet. May the true judge, the only judge, God, truly avenge the blood of the innocent, the 11 Jewish souls. Every one of us celebrates the holiday of Passover, and there's a line that we say, Bechol dor vador, oimdim aleinu lechalisenu, which means that in every generation, they stand up and they want to destroy us. There is always the evil, the darkness that wants to eradicate the light. And we think on Passover, when we read this, that perhaps this paragraph applies to hundreds of years ago, in a primitive time. Or perhaps this paragraph applies to a faraway place where primitive people live. Who would imagine that we would experience what we are experiencing today in America by a fellow American? Sadly, the words, all Jews must die, are not new words. France, 1137. Morocco, 1465. Spain, 1492. Ukraine, 1648. Hebron, 1929. Germany, 1939. Poland, 1940. The never-ending terror in Israel. As Jeremiah says, the death has penetrated our very own palace right next door. Right here, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 2018. How many more times do we have to experience such horror, bloodshed, blood-soaked talasim, innocent men and women being killed? Why? Why were they killed? Because they were Jewish. Period. The shooter didn't say all conservative Jews must die. He didn't say all Reform Jews must die. He didn't say all Orthodox Jews must die. He didn't say Sephardic Jews must die, or Ashkenazi Jews must die, Russian Jews or American Jews. He said all Jews must die. That includes me and you. Scary. The world is relatively silent. We very much appreciate the work of the law enforcement in Pennsylvania, getting out there, and literally putting their lives on the side in the line of duty to protect American citizens. We appreciate the work of the 60 precinct right over here in our community, who since last Saturday have been here very often, and we very, very much appreciate their protection. Most of the world is silent. When other terrorists terrorized other countries, other communities, other people, there was more noise. This is silence. How many condemned the attack? Not enough. And this is not about politics, Republican or Democrat. This is about upright citizens. This is about just being human. Moshe, the greatest Jewish leader, comes out of the palace in Egypt, and he sees that there is an Egyptian taskmaster who is mercilessly whipping a Jew. Moshe sees, he looks. He wants to see if there's anybody else around watching. And he sees there's nobody there. And so Moshe, like a strong Jew, which we sometimes need to be, Moshe stands up and kills the Egyptian and buries him in the sand. The next day, Moshe comes out again, and he sees two Jews fighting, unfortunately. And he says to them, "What are you doing?" And one of them says, "Moshe, are you going to do the same thing that you did to the Egyptian taskmaster?" Didn't Moshe look around? Didn't he make sure that there was nobody there? If he didn't see anybody there, how did this Jew see him killing the taskmaster? And our commentators explain something very empowering. That Moshe was looking around and he saw no one there. It doesn't mean there was nobody there physically. It means there was nobody there who was ready to stand up to the atrocity, to the negativity, to the evil, and to the darkness. There was nobody there trying to stop this Egyptian taskmaster. What? Egyptian taskmaster? He was a terrorist. One of the first terrorists. But nobody said anything. Everybody was silent. And what Moshe teaches us is that we can't wait for other people to condemn. We can't wait for others to make noise. we have to be strong. We have to stand up to terror. We have to protect ourselves. We have to be wary. We have to stand up for the truth. We have to be more proud of our Judaism. Death to all Jews. What is a Jew? We have to be more proud of our Jewish identity. We have to talk more about our Jewish identity to our children, to our teens, to our families. And as the Rebbe said, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, we fight evil, most importantly, with goodness. We fight darkness with more light. We fight negativity with more positivity. Let's bring more light. Let's bring more goodness to our family and to our neighbors and to the community. May Hashem avenge their blood. And may Hashem protect us and watch over us every day of our lives. Amen. I want to take this opportunity to thank, firstly, all of you for coming out here. I know every single one of you has very, very busy schedules, but this is something which is very, very important, to come out. Solidarity, to show support, that we're not going to remain silent. We also want to thank community leaders who've come here and our wonderful officers. I want to ask the lieutenant from 6-0, Lieutenant Abriano, to please come up, followed by other introductions. We also have over here Officer Furman, who, as we say in the Russian language, Nasha Luizin.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lieutenant Frank Abriano, Sergeant Furman. He newly took over the position, NCO program. I'm in charge of the NCO program. Since last week we started, I personally visited all the synagogues in the neighborhood. Wanted to make sure everything was going well, that there was no, no problems going on in the area. I had the NCOs come in, and we spoke to the rabbis in the neighborhood. I want to say sorry to those that lost loved ones, and if anybody knew anybody in Pennsylvania. I'm representing Inspector Haywood of the 6-0 precinct. You're going to be seeing a lot of us, a lot of security in the area. I'm personally going to be here for the next couple of weeks into the holidays. The holidays are coming, and you're going to be safe. We're going to be here, and I don't want anybody to worry, because the 6-0 will be here protecting you every day. Sergeant Furman introduce himself. Also, we're going to have the counterterrorism Lieutenant DeMarco. He's going to speak in a little while and update you on some counterterrorism issues. Here's Sergeant Furman. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, my brothers and sisters. Good evening. My name is Sergeant Furman again. I work with the 60th precinct. I was working midnights, but recently I've been transferred to days, so I'll be here with you during the day. I'll make sure the place is safe. I'll make sure that every need will be met, everything that's possible. We're going to do to make sure everyone is secure. In Torah we say, "We're high by him." That means to do mitzvahs, we need to be living. Only living people can perform mitzvahs. So life is our prime concern. In policing, there is also the same concept. It's not different. Our patrol guide stresses the importance of life. This is our prime concern. So there's no difference. We're basically living by the same principles. So this is going to be our prime concern, and we're going to make sure that everyone is safe and sound, and everything's going to be all right. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I wanted to know what kind of measures is the police or our community leaders taking against this rise of anti-Semitism. Every day something's happening in all neighborhoods. It's here, and something must be done. We can't sit quietly and ignore it. What is being done?
Well, I cannot answer for all the communities. I can
Well-
only answer what's going on in 60th precinct, if you allow me. As soon as we found out about the tragedy, we deployed our units to every single synagogue to...
But for how long? Is this for 2 weeks until everything hushes down? Or is this going to be a continuous, until anti-Semitism dies? Which it never will.
In regards to anti-Semitism, it's been there.
Yeah, but now it's very loud and evident.
Let me pass this on to Lieutenant. Give me a second.
Look, we're going to take extreme measures. We always do. People are being arrested every day for these issues.
How are they punished? What's being done? Arrested
They have
and
to-
they let them go?
Really?
That's
We don't
courts.
hear about,
What we do is we arrest them, and then they go to the court system, and then they get.
let them go.
No, they don't let them go. There's a lot of people who do long time. They're arrested for a long time for bias incidents. It's very serious thing. They don't let them go. We're going to go over more with that with counterterrorism after. But we're taking very extreme measures. This is a top priority for us, especially for the 6-0, especially for Inspector Hayward, especially for the Brooklyn South altogether. We're always on top of this. And you got my word. I was here on Monday. I was here on Tuesday, and I just took over. I'm in charge of the NCO program now, so I take it very. I take it very seriously.
Do you think there's going to be training for the congregants in synagogues on
100%. 100%. That's why we're here tonight. We're actually going to have some training tonight, and we're going to, we're going to get into that a little while. He's the counterterrorism lieutenant. He's here, and he 30 years on the job, and he's probably the best we have. So we'll go into that. But again, I'm going to let him speak. This is Lieutenant DeMarco, and
If there are any questions that will be unanswered by the end of this presentation, I'll have my number distributed to anybody who has any questions, all right? Lieutenant DeMarco?
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, my condolences to the congregation, to the Jewish community, and to the people of Pittsburgh. What happened there didn't affect just the Jewish community. I'm a Catholic, I'm Italian. It affected us all. When you go into a house of prayer, you go into a synagogue, you go into a church, that is your sacred ground. That is where you go to talk to God. Where you go to kind of relieve your stress in your daily lives. You don't expect a madman, and I will not repeat his name because he doesn't deserve it, for a person to come in off the street and gun people down the way he did. It's a savage attack. It's a domestic terrorist. Let's not call him anything else but that. He had a hate, and he went out, and he acted upon that hate. To answer your question, what do we do about hate crimes? We have a hate crime task force. That anti-Semitic remarks, SWAT stickers, we take them very seriously. We have them investigate. We have detectives. That's all they do, is go after these cases. Unfortunately, like the lieutenant said, I'm going to reiterate, when we make these arrests, we're all part of the same criminal court system. We're not the judges here. We're not the jurors. All we can do is bring these people to justice, arrest them, show the world the type of people they are, bring them to a courtroom, and then from there, whatever the decision comes out, we have no control over. I understand your frustration, I understand why you're upset, but it affects us all. But in no part and no time does the NYPD walk away from crimes of that magnitude. We take every crime serious. But anti-Semitism is at the top. Me and counterterrorism, I have 12 years with the counterterrorism unit, I have 30 years in the NYPD. I can tell you that we take everything that we see globally and nationally, and what we do is we come up with a plan and we act locally. We see what goes on in other places, and we don't want copycats here. In my department, I'm in charge of counterterrorism officers. They wear my uniform. When this happened Saturday morning, I was home with my family. I left them. I came into a precinct, and I started redeploying my personnel, my heavy weapons teams, my canine units, my counterterrorism measures that I had. Brooklyn South, which is the area we're in now, from the 6-0 to the Barclays Center, was on lockdown. I had synagogues on watch. I had police cars with lights on. My priority was everyone that was praying, everyone that was in a synagogue. My also concern is schools, Monday through Friday, because let's not forget, prayer day is one day, but 5 days, those children go in. Those are soft targets. I have to protect them as well. I think that was another question we had here. What are we doing about certain things? We have a lot of things that we try to protect. Unfortunately, the police, there's only 36,000. And if you look at the magnitude of the job of protecting the city, the underground, above ground, synagogues, churches, and everything else that plagues this city, I think we do a good job here. And I hope that the congregants in this community will see what I would like to say about training, and I'm going to cut this short because I believe in my mission, and believe me when I tell you, having my family here in Brooklyn South and Coney Island's my backyard, I feel what goes on here. And if something happens in this borough, it affects me personally. I feel like I let myself down, and I let you down, and that's never going to happen. You got my word. With the training, if anyone's interested in training, and Rabbi, this goes for your congregation as well, we have a unit called the SHIELD Unit under counterterrorism. And the website is nypdshield.org. I'll repeat it again, nypdshield.org. Rabbi, if you would like to set up a couple of training dates, as long as you have at least 20 people or more at these training dates, what you do is you set up on the computer, someone from my NYPD SHIELD unit, which is under counterterrorism, will call you and set up an active shooter training plan. They can show you videos on how to barricade or fortify a location, how to protect yourself if you're in here in the event that there is a threat. You know, do you have enough provisions here, maybe to keep water and some food, just in case you have to lock the doors until the police clear the outside area to come in, to declare the situation safe. So these are things that a normal person wouldn't think of. But this is stuff that we study from events that happen all over the world, and we bring it to you free of charge. More than this, I wish I can do. Yes, question?
Are the hate crimes of any given precinct, is that something we can be privy to or not?
Well, anytime hate crime happens, the media is always all over it, you know, and it gets a lot of press on it. Our hate crimes task force are elite detectives that were handpicked because they have to be sensitive to the case at hand. And what happens is a lot of this is public information, so you can research it online. But there has been an increase, this year, more so than last year. Any other questions at this time? Yes?
Yes. Have you also considered deploying some auxiliary units as the eyes and ears, and also as deterrents because they have similar cars to the police cars?
That's a great question. We do. Unfortunately, several years back, we had 2 auxiliaries that were gunned down. A guy had a dispute with a coworker, shot the coworker. When he came out, he didn't see the armband that said auxiliary. He just saw the patch that says NYPD. They were gunned down on the street. That was all caught on video. We do use them, but we try not to put them in harm's way because they don't have the firearm as a protection. But we do use them at parades. We do use them at events. As long as we have uniform officers with firearms, they can be deployed with us.
I mean, just as a deterrent, just to put them like near religious schools or synagogues.
Well, they are, but you got to remember, auxiliaries are volunteers, so a lot of them have jobs. So we have a great auxiliary program in the 6-0. The lieutenant can attest to it. They do a great job for us. In the summer, you see them all over the place. They have their own vehicles. We do deploy them, to answer your question.
The second question that I have is, years ago, I don't know if this is still done or this is practical, but they would also have decoys. Like
Undercovers.
Undercover.
We have them as well. We have them as well, yeah. We have hostile surveillance teams, which are undercover. We have anti-crime teams. We have decoy squads. We have the stuff that we do, you know, the guys in plainclothes, narcotics, gang, they're all plainclothes units. You wouldn't know they're police officers. Some of the guys in narcotics, they passed by me. I didn't even know they were police officers because they don't look clean shaven. You know, they're playing a role. So they are out there. But I just want you to be rest assured that we look at everything. We're on social media. We're on the internet. Everything we do is try to find that threat before the threat finds its target. And we do everything we can. I think we do the best job that we can do. And just so you know, Brooklyn South, and I've been here 11 years doing counterterrorism, so far, knock on wood, we haven't had a confirmed terrorist attack. We haven't had an explosion go off. We haven't had a bomb go off. We haven't had an active shooter in the sense that he came into a synagogue or a church. So our guys are out there. Our mission is strong. We have to protect human life. It doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter where they live. We protect everyone equally. But when cases like this come up in other states, we take it serious. And that protection, young lady in the front had asked earlier, how long does the protection go? The protection's continuous. Obviously, during high holidays, it's increased, it's ratcheted up, but we cover everything all the time, and we do the best we can. But sometimes the resources, depending on what's going on, 911 calls, emergencies, they are manpower restricted where they take police away because they have to handle that situation. But as soon as it's done, we're right back again. But just so you know, 911 is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. The response time for a precinct police officer to respond to your job is less than 2 minutes. So you will get a response.
It's not, you can't always call 911, not
Correct.
in all situations.
Correct.
And speaking of social media, this guy wrote on social media that he was going to go kill all the Jews, and what happened? He did.
Absolutely
and he
right.
went and killed them.
Here's my last thing, and I'm going to wrap it up.
Who's monitoring social media?
Social media is monitored by our intelligence division. We have field intelligence officers in every precinct. Their job is to go out there and monitor social media. But that's a monumental task. Social media today is on many different platforms. What we need, and what I need from you folks are our eyes and ears. We can't do everything alone, the police. We need the community input. And we get a lot of input, believe it or not, from high school kids. Because they're on social media more than we are.
We have a whole group of Nashama C-Teen high school kids who are here today.
Am I lying? Do you guys on social media on? Believe it or not, a lot of our threats that come in through social media are high school kids that give us the information. Kid posts, tomorrow I'm going to come back and shoot up the school. We wouldn't know that because we're not friends with them, and it's hard to try to get into everyone's Facebook page. But we get a lot of information through the high schools. Another good source, if you have something, and this is my mantra and I live by it, see something, say something. You have something on Twitter, call 888-NYC-SAFE. 888-NYC SAFE. You're on Facebook. You see someone across the street at 2 o'clock in the morning unloading a van with 100 gallons of bleach, but he doesn't own a laundromat. Call us. We're taking it. Yes. 888-NYC-SAFE. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a detective on call. You'll have a person online. You won't have to hit a number or a prompt to be queued. The person will hear what you have to say and will take the information. Last year, over 2,000 calls came in. 300 cases out of the 2,000 calls became real cases. I can't get into further with that because a lot of them are still active, but 300 out of 2,000, information that was gotten from the public, we're still rolling with it. So we need your help. If you see something, if your gut tells you something's wrong, call it in. If the hair on the back of your head stands up, call it in. Chances are there's something more that's going on. I'd rather you call us and there's nothing there than not call us and something blows up. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just to continue for a moment before I call on the next speaker, it is all about the community, and God willing, we're going to be starting a rotation in our shul. We have a lot of children's activities. We have a daily after-school program. On Sundays, we have a Hebrew school. Every Shabbos, we have services. So if there is anybody here who wants to volunteer, maybe just to stand in the lobby or in front of the shul for an hour, 2 hours, once a week, or whatever it is that you want to volunteer, that would be tremendous. Another pair of eyes and ears. So please come over. If you have any family members who are off-duty officers, that would also be something which would be very beneficial.
I guess the mic is not working for now.
I would like to introduce to you the district leader of the Democratic group, representing the Comptroller's Office, Scott Stringer. Ari Kagan, please come up.
Good evening, nice to see you all.
This beautiful shul is used for many, many joyous occasions, and of course better to be here for some kind of celebration. But unfortunately we are here for vigil, for showing solidarity with Pittsburgh Jewish community. So, first of all, on behalf of controller Scott Stringer and from myself, I wanted to express our not just solidarity with Jewish community of Pittsburgh, but also our condolences, not just to Jews who were killed there, but also to families of police officers who risked their lives trying to save congregants. As you know, several police officers were wounded during this attack. And of course it was an attack on all of us, not just on Pittsburgh. And you know, the name of the synagogue is Tree of Life. And you know, on that particular day, it started with breeze over there. They saw that they celebrated another life. And the shooter wanted to kill us all, as he said right away. And first of all, I wanted to tell you that though Rabbi mentioned the silence about it, it's not exactly the silence. Of course, we would prefer more action, and we prefer more vigils, but I can tell you that since at least Sunday, from my work and from myself, I attended at least maybe 8 vigils just in Brooklyn, and 1 vigil in Manhattan. American Jewish Committee was having vigil, and just on Sunday it was a big vigil in Midwood, Flatbush Jewish Community Coalition, and Dr. Martin Frontos and I just came from Bay Ridge. It was a vigil right there tonight. So you cannot say that nobody says anything. And every major elected official in New York City, New York State, and in America, starting with president and every congressperson, condemned this killing and condemned this murder. So it's not a complete silence, I would say. In terms of what can we do about it, of course it's not overnight something could be done. Anti-Semitism is for centuries, racism is for centuries, and hate is also for centuries. I'm not talking about Inquisition, I'm talking about history. And this guy hated Jews long ago, and I agree with you about social media. This website now offline, but before this website gap.com was offline, it was online, and it publicly proclaimed that anybody who hates, basically, can express their opinion on our website. And everybody who hated expressed against Jews, against blacks, against immigrants. That website, I managed to read a few lines from that website. It's only free expression about hate, nothing else. Nothing else. And yes, this guy said, 4 minutes before he attacked Shul, he said, oh, we're screwed, I'm in. And I see a lot of things on the internet myself. I'm active on the internet, and I see a lot of unacceptable things all the time. And now, like, we're reporting to Facebook, you're reporting there, you're reporting here, but it's impossible to read the mind of people. But few legislative initiatives in the last few days, I think, are relevant to this conversation. For example, Councilman Chaim Deutsch just introduced a bill in New York City Council that every hate crime happening anywhere in 5 boroughs, local district attorneys of every borough should inform community leaders and local elected officials what is going on. Because in the case of Borough Park beating, for example, first few days nobody knew what was going on. Some said it's a road rage, some said that the guy mistook someone from someone else, and so on. And Brooklyn District Attorney investigated, he said, I cannot comment. As a result, there were a lot of rumors what was going on. By the end of the day, the guy was charged with hate crime. But under this legislation, it will be reporting to City Council and will be meeting with community leaders within like first week of any hate crime, so people will know what's going on anywhere, besides media, besides internet. Second legislation was proposed just yesterday in Congress to Carolyn Maloney, Congresswoman, who is Democrat, and Congressman Daniel Donovan, who is a Republican, introduced a legislation to increase funding for any kind of Holocaust history classes in every public school. And I'm father of a daughter who is in public school, and I can tell you, Holocaust history in in public school is maximum 1 day, sometimes 2 classes, a year, and that's all, nothing else. And usually whole history of America, by the way, also usually in public schools, stops around, I don't know, 1929, 1930, and they do not even come to 2018. Like each time I'm asking, when are you going to talk about last few presidents? And they said, no, later. And she's already in the 9th grade, by the way. Still later, when? It's insane. I'm talking about we need to check what's going on with curriculum in our schools, about history, about civic engagement and everything, so people will know what's going on. Otherwise, we will never know. And they don't even know, World War II. Some school children still don't know who was against whom. They're telling stories they don't know what happened at World War II. And of course, what about recent history, last 20, 30 years? So that could be changed. That could be changed legislatively, by the way. That could be changed even in New York City. Could be changed to the Department of Education, for example. I also wanted to say very, very, very important that we do not live in vacuum. We do not live on the moon. And we do not live only inside the shoe. Because we live in New York City, very, very diverse city. We live in the capital of the world, a lot of different communities. And I'm saying that just talking to your neighbors already helping to improve the situation. Just at every vigil I saw pastors, I saw imams, I saw rabbis, I saw people who are from every possible community. I saw leaders of Caribbean community, I saw leaders of Polish community, I saw leader of Asian community, and so on and so on. It's very important that we talk to each other, yes.
It's great that everyone gets together, but how does that help us? How does that protect us? We have to do something as citizens. It's great that we're sitting.
You gotta get a gun license.
Yes.
I think it helps a lot. Why? Because this gunman, he didn't live on the moon. And very often I talked to one person recently. He is Russian, by the way, and he is such a hater, I cannot even start. When I talk to him, he hates everybody. And I said, I want to talk to your parents. And when I started to talk to his parents even more haters, So then I realized the problem is not him, but his parents. And each time I'm going to Holocaust Memorial Park and I see people skating inside there, and playing games inside the Holocaust Memorial Park, and I'm trying to say, do you know what location is this? And I'm learning that people have no idea about Holocaust Memorial Park, and some have no idea what Holocaust was all about. So my point is, it's important to talk to others. It's very important to talk to, if you know any leaders from any other community, or just your neighbors, just talk to them. Talk to them about what happened in this synagogue. Talk to them about your feelings. It's very, very important. Believe me, it's important. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you to the synagogue for organizing this vision. Very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The most important component of this event as Jews is that we're looking for strength and inspiration. And we want to conclude following that with a special prayer and blessing. So we're going to ask my father, Rabbi Winner, the founder of Chabad over here in Brighton Beach and Manhattan Beach, to please come up as a keynote address. Rabbi Winner.
It's great to see everybody here. Thank you for the representation from the police department. There's the good news, there's the bad news. The bad news is that we are still witnesses of the ugliness of anti-Semitism. Yes, my son mentioned 1492 and 1942, but this is 2018. It was hoped that by now at least in the United States, there would no longer be anti-Semitism in the worst way that we witnessed this last Shabbos. But it's here. In New York City, there is a building in a very prominent place in New York City, and it says on the walls of that building, a very famous building, that the swords would be beaten into plowshares, and one nation will not lift a sword against another nation. The words of the prophet Yeshaya Hanavi, and they're on the Isaiah wall in the United Nations. Wonderful dream, and to us a holy vision. But in the real world, it's still a dream. And that's the bad news. That still in our times, in our day and age, we witness the ugliness of anti-Semitism, kill the Jews. Nothing changed. The good news is the healthy outrage that was expressed in America. And the country is at war now, unfortunately, and screaming at each other. Basically, one half of the country is screaming at the other half of the country. The only question who's screaming louder, and that depends if you're on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle. So it's not a very healthy state of mind in the United States today. Nevertheless, we must recognize and appreciate the moral clarity of our country. That when it came to this ugly anti-Semitism, everybody was outraged, and sincerely outraged. And that's a sign that almost all of America, the country as a whole, does have a sense of right and wrong, and is therefore outraged at such anti-Semitism that we witnessed here this week. The best news is what our prophets promised us. Our prophets promised us in a better world. Our prophets promised us in an era of Mashiach, in an era of redemption, when there will no longer be wars. And when actually all of the swords and all of the arms will be useless, because one nation will indeed not lift up a sword against another nation. This is our belief, not only a hope in mankind, but a faith in the ultimate goodness of mankind. That's what kept us going as a Jewish people. That it's always going to be better. And ultimately the prophecies of our prophets will be realized with a really better world. That is our belief. It is the absolute optimism of our faith. A faith in Hashem, but also faith that this world can become a perfect world. How? I don't have all the answers, but there's things we should do. When Prime Minister Netanyahu was the ambassador to the United Nations here in New York, he once visited the Rebbe. And the Rebbe told him, you should know the United Nations is a house of lies and darkness. The good news is that even with a small light, you can chase away much darkness. And that is what your job is, to shine a light. And that is what our job is as well. We're living in a crazy world, and it's crazy more than one way. And there's a lot of confusion, a lot of moral confusion in the world. And think about the children that are growing up right now, and they're being exposed to anything goes and everything is possible, turning upside down much of the traditions that we took for granted. It's important more than ever to shine the light in our homes, in our community, and that's why the shul is here. The shul, the Rebbe told, Mr. Fisher used to be the president of the shul, we once took a group from our shul, and the Rebbe told them this shul should be the lighthouse to shine light in the community. And that's what we're trying to do. The shul is a place of the light of Torah, the light of hope, the light of faith. We're soon going to be giving out candles for everyone to light a candle symbolically, to express their light, to remember those who were killed only for one reason, because they were the Jew. So when he said, kill the Jews, they were there. And that is what is something that is close to us and dear to us, brothers and sisters. But it's not only lighting a candle, that's easy. It's lighting up our own lives with more mitzvahs, with Torah. We prepared this page, My Mitzvah for Pittsburgh. And we're asking you to sign up to do a mitzvah. We're making an appeal, not for money, an appeal for mitzvahs. So to take this paper, and here, my mitzvah commitment, will attend synagogue so many times, 11 more times this year. 11 people were killed. I'll light Shabbat candles at least 11 more times this year. I'll put on tefillin at least 11 more times this year. We're here with programs and activities for children, for teenagers, for young families, for professionals, for seniors, for Shabbos, for weekdays, for classes. We just had a Tanya class, well attended, JLI classes. Bring some more light into your house, into your life, into your home, and into the community. The world needs more light. And when there's more light, the world becomes more illuminated. And that's what's going to bring Mashiach. We do believe and have faith in mankind. It's taking longer than we had hoped. But we cannot give up hope. For by doing more mitzvahs in our home, in our family, in our community, we do make a difference. Thank you. As we hold these candles, we want to do two things. First, we're going to have a moment of silence. And we should meditate about how we are going to bring more light in our life and in our family and community. And think of a mitzvah that you want to undertake and write in this form. And we will bring these papers to the Rebbe's grave, to the Ohel. So this week, someone's going to be going, actually tomorrow I'm going to be going, and you give this, write your name, and we will put this by the Rebbe's resting place. So you make a commitment that really is going to heaven. So first of all, have that moment of silence, and after that moment of silence, I'm going to ask Mr. Mendy Sontag to lead us in the song of Ani Mamin. And Ani Mamin is a declaration of faith in the coming of Mashiach, in seeing a world where there is no longer darkness, just light and happiness and peace. So first of all, a moment of silence for each one of us to think and meditate for a better world.
Ani Mamin, Ani Mamin, Ani Mamin, Be'emunah Shelemot, Be'biyash HaMashiach, Be'biyash HaMashiach, Ani Mamin. Ani Mamin, Ani Mamin, Ani Mamin, Ani Mamin, Be'emunah Shelemot, Be'biyash HaMashiach, Be'biyash HaMashiach, Ani Mamin.
I'd like to say one word about the police officers. Last Shabbos, we had a Kiddush in Shul, and many people were sitting downstairs. I left early. As I came up the steps to walk out, 15 police officers ran into the building. Remember, Rabbi, when I brought them downstairs?
Yeah.
And they said, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Yes." They said, "We want to check out the entire building. Please get out of the way." That's how quick they responded. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night. And the notes are on the table. Leave your candles on these tables. There's a table here and a table by the back. Fill out the notes. Leave them here. We will take them tomorrow to the Ohel.
May I ask you a question?
1 second.
Excuse me?